going on, Bengals fans? Stone Shields on hand for another edition of Bengals Breakdown. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be spending some time talking about free agent safety Julian Blackmon. Sports Illustrated has recently linked Blackmon to the Bengals. And obviously, the Bengals, in my opinion, still have a need at that safety position. Obviously, they did not do anything this offseason to address it. No draft picks, no free agents. There are still some quality guys out there at that safety position. I wouldn't say necessarily quality, but still some well-known guys that can play good football and have shown they can play good football still available out there at that spot. Julian Blackmon is a guy that we're going to spend a lot of time on. We've done videos in the past on Justin Simmons. We'll touch on him a little bit at the end of today's show as well, but did want to spend kind of a full show breaking down Julian Blackmon and see if he is a potential fit for the Cincinnati Bengals football team, but more specifically, Al Golden on the defensive side of the football. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that sub button if you haven't done so already. It's youtube.com/Bengals TV. Our goal here is to beat our June 2024 subtotal. That was 400 subs. And we got 19 here as we're about a few days in, or about a week or so into the month of June. And we still got a ways to go here. So help me out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/Bengals TV. We'll have you covered all offseason long. More importantly, all season long as well, with all the latest Bengals coverage. Again, trying to break our June 2024 mark. Help me out. Hit that sub button for me right now. All right, let's get into what Sports Illustrated had to say as far as the Bengals and Julian Blackmon go. This is what Gilberton Manzano had to write for SI, saying this: the Bengals need all the help they can get after their defense endured a dreadful 2024 season. Blackmon can improve the Bengals secondary after establishing himself as a quality playmaker in 5 seasons with the Indianapolis Colts. Blackmon is coming off of a down season and probably didn't fit the scheme of new Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, the former Bengals defensive play caller. Perhaps new Bengals defensive coordinator Al Golden sees Blackmon as a team fit. Now, I do want to make note, Spotrac projects that he's going to sign a 1-year, $8 million deal. Now, that's obviously not gospel, right? Just a prediction as far as Spotrac goes in that regard, but that's kind of what you're looking at here. A guy that's played 5 years in the NFL, has had some success, and that $8 million mark does seem like that is a bit steep, if ultimately that is what he ends up signing for when he does sign. I want to be very clear here. Julian Blackmon's going to sign at some point. There's still some quality guys out there. You know, after that first big wave, you see a lot of these guys kind of, wait till closer to the mandatory minicamp stuff before they ultimately find a home. We'll see when Julian Blackmon finds his. But he does have injury concerns. He played a lot of games for the Indianapolis Colts last season. Actually appeared in 16 games, but he was by no means healthy throughout this season. And kind of when stuff like that happens to players, that their own toughness kind of can harm them in a way, right? Because he played in 16 games, and I believe that torn rotator cuff he suffered was very, very early in the season. May have even been week 1, and obviously that impacted how he played out there on the football field. And you take a look at those stats, and you say, well, shoot, I mean, that's worse than Geno Stone, and you're not wrong, right? Julian Blackmon did struggle there, but he did only give up 2 touchdowns. Geno Stone certainly gave up a little bit more than that, but again, he's played the entirety of his career to this point with the Indianapolis Colts. He will have a new team at some point, and I do think the Bengals could perhaps be in the market to bring him in if they can get him at a cheaper rate, because I was shocked that they did not do anything to contribute to their safety room. Again, Lathan Ransom was right there. You could have taken him. You went with Barrett Carter instead, and ultimately didn't add any safeties, running it back at this point with the same room that obviously struggled immensely in 2024. I want to know what you guys think, though. Should the Bengals sign Julian Blackmon? Again, if you're available in June, right, there is a reason why you're available, right? You're not going to get some perfect player at this stage of the game. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section of today's show. It is the pinned comment of today's video. Type Y for yes or N for no. As I was talking about with Geno Stone, right, obviously didn't give up as many yards as Julian Blackmon did, but those 5 touchdowns really were crucial. And your job as a free safety is not to get beat over the top. And it seemed like so many times last year that was the case for Geno Stone when he was out there on defense for the Bengals, particularly early on. when you really were losing a lot of football games, right? And then obviously as the season went on and you started playing weaker competition at the end of your schedule, you saw Geno Stone start to play a little bit better. And honestly, those 4 interceptions might be what saved Geno Stone. Obviously, he went under dealing with that restructure of his contract, so it's not going to be the same amount of money he was expected to make this year. But I do give him a lot of credit there for just recognizing, hey, I didn't play at the level in which they were paying me last year, so I will take this contract cut, and I'll try to go out there and improve for 2025. Jordan Battle had an up-and-down season as well. I'm still holding on to hope that he can be a really solid player for this Bengals defense. But beyond that, in that room, it'll be interesting to see how Lou Anarumo deploys his safeties, because Al Golden deploys his safeties, because Lou Anarumo did not like to rotate his safeties. He pretty much liked to roll with the same 2 guys always, exclusively, and you never really got to see any of those backups in there, right? We all love Tyson Anderson, and we were sitting there wondering, okay, are we going to see him as a safety, or is he just going to be your special teams ace? Could he perhaps be inserted into the lineup if Geno Stone and Jordan Battle are kind of going back to bad habits and not improving here in 2025? Certainly is something to monitor. But beyond that, P.J. Dools, Dejon Anthony, Jalen Key, right? I would like to have another guy that's played some winning football, or at least played a lot of competitive football in that room. And I definitely think Julian Blackmon fits that bill. But again, if it ends up being that $8 million price like Spotrac is alluding to, probably too steep for Cincinnati, and quite frankly, not worth it. We'll continue with our show here in a second, but do want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. Let you guys know that these Bengals T-shirt hoodies are on sale. You can go get them. Chatsports.com/Bengals Hoodie T-Shirt / Basically, it's a T-shirt, but it's got a hood. I've got one of these myself. Really cool stuff there. Best part about it, obviously, it looks cool, but it is a significant discount right now currently on Fanatics. So we'll put that link in the comment section and the description of today's video. One more time for you guys. It's chatsports.com/Bengals Hoodie T-Shirt / So what's kind of the value here of Julian Blackmon? Obviously, as it relates to free agents that are still free agents at this point in the offseason, Bleacher Report listed Julian Blackmon as a top 10 remaining free agents. There's a lot of people kind of in the media, and you hear people around the league talking about it too, that really think this guy can still be a quality player. Again, 5 years in Indianapolis, played quality football. He was a 3rd-round pick out of Utah, and he's still a young guy, right? A lot of guys that are still available, they're older players, right? But then you have some guys that are younger with some injury concerns, like I think you have here with Blackmon, who are still available. But let's look at the entirety of this list here from Bleacher Report. Obviously, some of these guys, the receivers, the running backs, not really a need for the Cincinnati Bengals anymore at this point, right? You got Keenan Allen. You got Julian Blackmon, obviously. You got Amari Cooper. You got J.K. Dobbins, Mike Hilton, Brandon Scherff, Justin Simmons, Za'Darius Smith, Carson Wentz, and Kaiser White are kind of your top batch of guys here at this point. But more specifically, as it relates to Julian Blackmon, let's take a look here at what exactly Matt Moten had to write for Bleacher Report, saying this: still in his prime, Julian Blackmon should be on a team by now. Though he's spotty with his consistency in deep coverage, the 26-year-old has made several plays on the ball over the last 2 seasons. In recent years, Blackmon has also made plays in run support. In 2023, he logged a significantly higher number of total tackles compared to his first 3 seasons and registered a career-high 5 tackles for loss. Blackmon still has some upside as a safety who can play in deep coverage and fill the box on early downs. So again, a lot of people around the league still have a lot of belief in this guy and think that he can really contribute to a football team here in 2025. Name a free agent you want the Bengals to still sign. Or if you think they're good, if you're happy with this team as it sits right now, that's totally fine. But let me know. Get those names for me in the comments section of today's show. So we showed you that list of 10 guys right from Bleacher Report. And obviously, like Keenan Allen, I really love Keenan Allen. Great player. No need for him here in Cincinnati, right? Amari Cooper, J.K. Dobbins, same kind of stuff. But there are a couple of guys on this list that I do want to spend some time talking about. Most notably here is Brandon Scherff, right? I've been banging the table ever since the beginning of free agency, leading up to free agency even. Been talking about signing this guy. veteran offensive lineman who stays healthy and is great in pass protection and is probably ring chasing, right? I don't get it. I don't get why the Bengals don't have interest in him, seemingly, right? If the Bengals have reached out to him, I would imagine he would have signed. There's been some rumors. Hey, is he thinking about retiring? What have you? I'm surprised he's no longer on the roster. Obviously, he's old. It's a one-year deal type thing. But I think he would fit in great here in Cincinnati. You plug him in for a year. You help him, mentor some of the younger guys, right? Dylan Fairchild certainly needs a little mentorship. I think, obviously, Ted Karras is doing a great job of that. But I think you put him in for a year, he's your starting guard for a year, and you can drop back and throw it 45 times like you love doing anyway, and he can protect you like the guys were not doing last year. I don't get why he's not signed. I don't get why the Bengals apparently don't have any interest in him, but Brandon Scherff's still a guy that's at the top of my list. Also, Za'Darius Smith, right? This is a guy that I still think can get pressure on the quarterback. We saw it last year, obviously, in Cleveland. He goes over in a trade to the Detroit Lions, and he really helps them in the wake of the injury to Aiden Hutchinson. And I think he's a guy, again, one-year guy. You're not committing a lot to him. Now, he's going to, be owed probably a decent chunk of change when it comes to the contract that he is going to garner. But Za'Darius Smith, especially with the question marks around Trey Hendrickson, and couple that with the question marks that you have over Shamar Stewart because he hasn't signed his contract yet and he's not practicing. So Za'Darius Smith's a guy. Again, he's looking for somewhere where he can win a championship. You can do that here in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. You can apply pressure on the quarterback, get the quarterback on the ground. That is what you need. Great leader in the locker room, too. If it's a 1 year, what's he going to make? 7, 8, 9, $10 million, something like that. I really don't know exactly, but I would pay him, especially with the uncertainty you have at that edge rusher spot. Justin Simmons, the guy that we have talked about a lot here as well, he's going to cost you a little bit more than Blackman would, but obviously he's not going to be looking at the same type of deal. It's a guy that's kind of at the end of his career, right, the latter stages of his career. He's still playing at an extremely high level. Now, the issue with him is that you're already committed here to Geno Stone, right? So are you really going to cut Geno Stone? I don't know. I think it was the right thing to do, but you kind of restructured your contract. It looks like they're going to commit to him through this year. Justin Simmons is not going to be looking to come in and be a backup, right? He doesn't scream backup whatsoever, so probably not going to happen here for Cincinnati. And the last guy, Mike Hilton, right? Mike Hilton's still unsigned. It looks like the Bengals and Hilton have kind of moved on, but I expected him to be on the team by now, and he's not. So if worse comes to worse here, and you're in a situation if you're the Bengals saying, you know what, our the whole defensive back room not really coming along the way we were hoping. And Mike's still out there. Obviously, there's some, awkwardness there. Like, hey, yeah, we were going to move on from you, but now we're sitting here and you're unsigned. We'd love to have you back. Maybe that could happen. Unlikely. Again, I'm shocked he's not on the team. He's up there in age as well, but Mike Hilton also another name that I just had to throw on here to end out today's show. Now, if you made it to the end of our video, we appreciate you. You are a real one. Show your appreciation for us by liking today's video for me right now.